I nearly quit being a VTuber after 464 live streams, 1,800 hours of VTube Studio, and over 4 years of making content ever since my first live stream on April 3rd, 2021. It's been a crazy roller coaster, but despite it all, I'm glad I stayed, and I wouldn't trade these years for anything in the world. Except for maybe Iron Mouse noticing me. I don't know, she's just really cool, and let's just... I've had many failures, but amongst the rubble came some success. I've had things that I've regretted, but also things that I'm glad I did despite being absolutely terrified. And I was able to pick myself back up again, all because of one unlikely moment. And that's what I want to share with you in this more personal video, by reminiscing over the past in hopes that you can learn something from my experiences, even if it's just a little bit. So stick around and maybe you'll find something that resonates with you. Look, I'm gonna preface this video by saying that I'm not anything special. There are many VTubers out there who have reached a type of success that I could only dream of. I wasn't a part of any agency, I didn't have a big VTuber group, and I didn't know squat about VTubing, live streaming, or content creation when I started. I was just a guy who found this new medium really cool and interesting. That being said, I have learned a lot over the years. But to fully understand the story that I'm about to tell, let's first dive into why I became a VTuber in the first place.
Tell me why!
Let's rewind time a few years and return to 2020. The global pandemic just hit and everyone was sent home. The world was truly isolated, and one of the only ways we could keep connected with each other was through the internet. I found out about VTubers back in the days of Kizuna Ai, but back then she just seemed like a cool concept, something reserved for companies with the resources to do so. Heck, even the term VTubers was still yet to hit global recognition. It wasn't until HoloLive during the pandemic that I really got into it, and it all started with a certain orange dragon.
Good morning, motherfuckers.
Kiryu Coco was my introduction to VTubers. I stuck around largely because she spoke English when most others predominantly spoke Japanese.
Today's top news are sheep up again in her own stream by disconnecting over 60 times in one ass show.
I watched a bunch of her clips, which naturally led me to the rest of HoloLive via the community of clippers who also very kindly subtitles the videos for us non-Japanese speakers to understand. And a huge shout out to you guys, by the way. And then came HoloLive English, and with it, I was hooked. February 2021. I finally got to move into my own place, but my supposed housemate at the time was stuck in Belgium for a while due to COVID restrictions. So for an entire half a year, I would have the place all to myself, and being alone in that kind of environment during one of the loneliest times this generation has had to face really made me think. And after some time, I came to a realization. I craved social interaction to stop this ever-growing feeling of loneliness. I craved to explore something new, but at the same time relive that joyous feeling of being a part of something again, with others who share the same passions. I craved to express myself how I saw fit, as it was something that I've always struggled with due to past events. Always having to act like someone I was not, just so I could stay out of trouble and keep everyone happy. But here, I didn't have to worry about any of that. In an ironic twist, being a VTuber actually helped me feel like I was allowed to be myself, way more than I would have ever been in the past. And funnily enough, it actually helped me become more comfortable with who I am in real life too. Fast forward a few months of prep and a tweet to send me off, and my VTuber journey officially began. January 2022. After I officially debuted, I had decided to create a few videos that were aimed at helping aspiring VTubers kickstart their own journey. Sort of a things I wish I knew when I started type of idea. Because back then, when VTubers were still fairly new in the grand scheme of things, there was very little information, at least compared to now. At this stage, it had been about a year since I became a VTuber, and during that time, I had been asked a lot of the same VTuber related questions by my community and some friends. So I decided to hop onto the VTuber content train, specializing in VTuber education. My first video was simply titled, how to be a VTuber. A quick and simple video that explained all the key elements of being a VTuber, from what a VTuber even is to the process of acquiring a model and becoming one yourself. It took some time to get traction, but it eventually became a successful video in the end, and I had a lot of fun making it. In fact, if you look up how to be a VTuber on Google, you will likely find my video on the front page, which is still so wild to me. My goodness. After that, I decided to create more and more content of the same type, becoming a sort of teacher in the space, which I enjoyed. But then came something unexpected. In May 2023, I uploaded a video that absolutely shook me and my entire channel. Some of you might know it from the title. VTuber models are too expensive, so I learned life duty in 7 days. See, the thing is, I never expected this video to blow up as much as it did. I was even genuinely terrified uploading it because I had worked on it for so long and put in so much effort that if it were to flop, it would have all been for nothing, and I would have been devastated. But instead, it became my most viewed video ever, and by a mile. It was scary, but the risk paid off.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about.
It was the turning point of the channel, the breakout hit that I had been waiting for all this time. Or at least it was supposed to be, had I not rested on my laurels and become complacent. Instead of taking advantage of the opportunity that was literally handed to me on a silver platter, I did nothing but upload a single video 4 months after. Then just nothing after that. Nothing. I became the hare in the race. I started off strong, ahead of the competition, but rested too long before even crossing the finish line. And because of that, I had always felt this regret. If I had applied myself more, if I had just been more consistent, if I had just ridden that wave of popularity that I had, I would have made it. And the streaming side of things weren't looking great either. I still streamed on Twitch, but it was far less than before. I struggled to be consistent due to life circumstances. There were even times where I stopped streaming altogether for weeks or months, as you can see from this giant gap in my activity stats. The lack of content combined with the lack of activity really hurt my growth. And while I always preached to focus on the quality and stop looking at the numbers, I myself couldn't help but look at the numbers, which in turn made me feel a bit depressed because I knew I could have done better. The proof is right there. I have literally proven that this was possible for me. I had no excuse. I knew that my own downfall was because of my own actions, or in this case, a lack thereof. And it was frustrating. On both the Twitch and especially YouTube side of things, it felt like I fell from the top of getting over it, having to now make that arduous, difficult journey all over again, knowing full well that I could have avoided that outcome had it not been for that one misstep. It was incredibly frustrating. I thought that was it. It's too late now. I've fallen out of relevancy, and there's no coming back from it. How on earth could I possibly get to where I was, let alone surpass what I had? 800,000 views on a single video, hundreds of thousands of views on average. How could I possibly reach that again with what I have now? At this point, I hadn't even uploaded in almost a year. I felt hopeless. Why even bother at this point? I asked myself. I was even thinking about quitting altogether and graduating, but something happened that stopped me. Somebody else quit. October 2024. Amelia Watson's graduation. I've watched her since the beginning of Hollow Myth, so watching her graduate flooded me with a lot of emotions, as I'm sure it did many of you. But it also made me remember all sorts of memories. And after watching her say goodbye for the last time, after reminiscing about her time in Hololive, I felt compelled to take my own trip down nostalgia lane, to look back on my own bygone years. Welcome one and all to the stream. How are you guys doing today? I saw my privated practice streams that I made because I was so nervous about even thinking about starting stream that days before going live, I would record myself as if I was live streaming just to get some practice in, like cram studying the night before an exam. I saw my pre-debut streams and it reminded me of where I started. How I didn't want to spend any money, so I used a PNG model that I drew myself. And how Fugi and PNG Tuber Plus weren't a thing back then, so I had to use an awkward Discord tool to even make my model reactable. I remembered how I talked to myself for hours until my first loyal viewer showed up in chat, Chuma, who still watches my streams to this day. How I moved from Twitch to YouTube because I thought I could get more views because I could make live stream thumbnails. I saw the stream where I met my first group of VTuber friends, some of which I'm still in contact with, while others have drifted away or even quit altogether. But despite that, I remembered all the fun times we had together, all the cool plans we had in mind, the collabs, the late night calls, the silly group chat moments. The OGs of the channel might even remember the VTuber group we started called Live on X. A few of us even got models made by the same art mama. It almost felt like watching a once thriving city succumb to nature as time marched on by. Or that one regular show meme. Then I scrolled to my post-debut content, still wondering, how could I even match this? But then, I saw something in the comments that I had forgotten about. People found my videos valuable. They thanked me. It made something very clear to me. Despite the lows that I have faced, despite the regrets that I might have had, and despite how far I have fallen and how washed I thought of myself as, there are people out there that I have helped in one way or another, and I had lost sight of that. I had gotten too into my own head. People have expressed their gratitude in the comments, with some even starting VTubing because of my videos. It made me happy and hopeful again, because it made me remember why I started doing all of this in the first place. I made these videos because I wanted to get other people interested in something that I loved, VTubing and VTubers, by providing content that I wish I had when I started. Moreover, I wanted a place to share my passion for it, because I genuinely think that VTubers are really, really cool, and more people should know about them. And I started streaming because it was a way for me to reset and start over from all the crap that was happening in both the world and my personal life at the time. To have a new beginning, this time unafraid of being who I am. Sure, I'll inevitably have people who don't like me, but I'm not here for them. I'm here for those who enjoy my silly antics. Seeing all my old videos and streams made me realize just how far I had come and how much I had grown as a content creator, a VTuber, and as a person. So I couldn't give up now. I shouldn't. Not after all of this, just because I was scared of a few numbers. And so, armed with a reignited fire in my heart, I set out to make a big announcement stream to let my community know that I'll be making some major channel changes. If I wanted to progress this journey further in a feasible manner, I needed to make some major changes to fit my life circumstances. Because if I tried to force it, then that's just inviting burnout. And that's the last thing I want to do after all of this. So, the first major change was a shift in streaming schedule, down from the usual 3 to 4 times a week to just 1 day a week. Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Irish time, by the way, if you want to stop by. I stopped worrying as much about being a partnered streamer, and instead viewed my streams more as something that complements my videos and a place to interact with my community and have fun. I wanted to approach things smarter using the knowledge that I've built up over the years. The same knowledge that I've been telling you guys in my videos, practicing what I preach, so to speak. So my main focus was now less on streams and more on putting out meaningful content, given the time that I have available to me. On top of that, I've also started studying more about making good videos. There was so much that I still didn't know, but I was more than willing to learn as much as I could. And then I uploaded my first YouTube video in almost a year. Granted, it didn't do very well compared to the previous videos, but instead of seeing things from the point of view of comparison to my previous successes, I try to see it as an opportunity for experimentation. Comparison is the thief of joy, as they say, because now I was basically starting over. Now I had an unprecedented chance to experiment with things and just try out different styles of content without having to worry or stress out too much about growth and affecting my channel's trajectory. I started uploading different things like videos on my alt channels, art on my Twitter, I'll never call it X by the way, f you Elon, and more YouTube shorts. I even restarted my TikTok account. And because of all this experimentation, I learned a lot of things that will inevitably improve the quality of my content going forward, with this video likely being the first long form, or as Rin Penrose calls it, YouTube longs, that demonstrate what I've learned so far. A proof of concept, if you will. April 2025. Fast forward a few months to present day, my streams have gradually regained some viewership despite less streaming time, and it's still below my peak and nowhere near my desired goal, but it's getting there, slowly but surely. I'd rather be the tortoise in the race this time around and celebrate the small victories while still moving forward, trying not to obsess too much over numbers for the sake of numbers, but rather look at them as something to leverage in order to make better content in general. Even if frequency is low, I find that as long as you're consistent in uploads and quality, people will show up. At the end of the day, this whole content creation or VTubing gig is anything but a sprint. It's a whole ass marathon, and it should be treated as such. What matters aren't the one-hit wonders or the quick short-term growth. It's the consistent output and quality content where each video, each stream, each TikTok is just a little bit better than the last. Even if it's not immediately visible right now, it will be over the long run. Even if you fall like I had, don't give up. Get back up. Learn from your mistakes and try again. If you've proven you could do it before, what's stopping you from doing it again? Even if you fell from the top of getting over it, at least this time around, you'll know what to expect. You've had practice. I mean, this is how speedrunners get so good, right? Because they fail so much they end up succeeding. Each failure is a lesson in and of itself. If there's anything to take from this video, let it be this. Remember where you came from and keep on trying, even in less than ideal situations. Celebrate even the small W's, but avoid staying complacent. And always remember that subs and views aren't just numbers on a screen. Well, most of the time. Real human beings are behind them too. So, if you get a new like, a new sub, a new viewer, just know that that's an entire ass human being that you've just positively impacted. Enough for them to show their support to you. Numbers can drown out perspective, so it's important to zoom out and look at the bigger picture every once in a while. As for me, well, it's simple. I don't have a reason to quit. Not anymore. And that's thanks to all of you who have supported me all these years, through watching my streams, subscribing to my channels, and of course, leaving the very comments that pulled me out of the dark. I couldn't be more grateful to have such a wonderful community. Also, after writing this 3,000 word script and what's basically a summary of my epiphanies, you wouldn't think I'd just up and leave, did you? Well, maybe old me would, but current me is here to stick around for a while to come. So, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!